We've been through dire times in these months of anguish war. And during that time, I can say that Israel has had no better friend than Senator John Fetterman. Senator, welcome to Israel. I want to thank you for your courageous statements that show moral clarity and moral courage. And you just say it the way it is. And we appreciate this friendship at all times, but especially at these times. So welcome, friend. Welcome.
Well, we stand with Israel through this, and I'm so sorry for what's been done to this nation, but I'm just an honor to be here today.
That was Democratic Senator John Fetterman of Pennsylvania meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in Jerusalem earlier this summer. Since the October 7th attack by Hamas, Fetterman has emerged as one of the most pro-Israel voices in Congress, and in the process rankled many of the progressives in his party. Joining us now from the Democratic National Convention in Chicago, senior editor at the Free Press, Peter Sabatnik. He recently interviewed the senator for a new piece entitled John Fetterman Has No Regrets.
Peter, thank you so much for being here. Obviously, some of his staff members do have regrets. One of the most fascinating quotes I've seen is his communication director coming out and lecturing the senator on foreign policy and suggests that he has a more simple view of the world than those younger than him. I'm curious, any reaction, any fallout from that?
So far, it's been weirdly quiet. I was on a plane most of the day yesterday getting here, so I haven't heard from anyone. But no, I mean, there's a strange quiet, so nothing yet.
So I don't agree with him about Israel and Gaza. Kerry Adams, Fetterman's communications director, told me in a phone call after my interview with the senator ended, and she went on and talked about how people his age, I have a sense that the international views are a lot less nuanced than my generation, because when he was growing up, it was might makes right. And for my generation and younger, who, of course, are the ones protesting this, they have a much more nuanced view of that region. Adams added, we'll just leave that hanging in the air there for a variety of reasons. But I will ask you about this transformation of John Fetterman from a progressive hero when he first ran to more of a centrist kind of cut from the cloth of past Pennsylvania centrist Democrats.
I don't think actually a lot has changed with John Fetterman. John Fetterman is a quintessential liberal. He is a reminder of what the Democratic Party used to be with regard to all the hot-button issues, including Israel and immigration. He is exactly where Labor was until not that long ago. So I think he casts a spotlight kind of unwittingly or unhelpfully for some Democrats on this disconnect between where the party is now and where it once was.
So, Peter, tell me about this strategy from Senator Fetterman. I trust it's in good faith, but it's also was notable when he first came out and sort of broke with the progressive wing of his party and said, I stand with Israel. They suffered a heinous attack on October 7th. They were attacked by a terrorist group. By the way, just this morning, breaking news, the IDF went in and recovered 6 more bodies of dead hostages and brought them home inside Gaza. So what has this road been like for him since October 7th within the party?
It's been lonely. He is a man who is routinely protested and attacked, and he's called Genocide John, and they've protested outside his home, and I think there's a feeling of being under siege. So yeah, I think it's he's gone from, as you noted, there's been this metamorphosis, but it really hasn't had anything to do with him as much as Fetterman exposing this disconnect between where he is and where the Democratic Party is, or at least the progressive base is.
So let's be clear, it's fairly common for staffers sometimes to even criticize their boss. What's not common is they put their name to it and go on the record and say, I flat out disagree with this. But setting that aside, I think it highlights, though, to your point, how Senator Fetterman is sort of on an island. So where do you see what is his future here? What is his political future? How does he see the next 2 years, next term? How does it all play out?
Yeah, so that's a great question, and I don't know how it's going to play out. He's not up for re-election until 2028, and I don't know that he's actually gamed this out. But there clearly is this fissure that's opened up between sort of the young people on the left and sort of this older establishment, or older, I should say, more liberal faction. I don't know if they're bigger or smaller, and so he's on the latter, and it remains to be seen, how that unfolds.
And lastly, at this moment of party unity here in Chicago, it is noteworthy. Senator Fetterman not here.
Right.
Why has he said?
Look, he said what all politicians say when they want to bow out or not show up. He wants to be with his family, which may very well be the case and is completely understandable. It's just, it's hard to imagine that if he were, being celebrated by the party, he would be absent from Chicago.
All right, senior editor at the Free Press, Peter Savodnik, thank you very much for your piece and your insights this morning. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much. It is really strange about the attack against your own member. I will say, Donnie, that there's this belief that every young person in the Democratic Party is against Israel and supports Gaza, and supports Hamas, and what Hamas is doing. And it's just not the case. And not only is it not the case, you look at polls, poll after poll after poll, and there's not a massive swing of young voters saying that they're for Hamas getting their way in Gaza, or they hate the Israelis. That's
Look, there's a crazy fringe on each side, but the reality is, and I've said this before, that the Biden administration has done everything possible you can do for Israel. They just signed a $20 billion package. And Kamala Harris, if you look at her voting record in the Senate, always voted with Israel. So there's this weird kind of misnomer that all of a sudden the Democratic Party is lurching in one direction. It's not. It supports Israel. It supports them unequivocally. It's okay to say, and we need to be careful about civilians. That doesn't disqualify your support for Israel. And sometimes people mistake that for which is purely just empathy, where there's a gray area in their support, and there isn't.